Oh, come on. I'm pretty happy with it. The plan is to open one every 6 months all across the country. Dale, how you doing?
That's supposed to be a picture of you, Mike?
Well, he had bigger shoulders then.
And my own knee.
Well, it sounds like a gold mine.
We could use one.
Who couldn't?
I gotta play host, Ken. I'll see you later.
What?
I heard Mike's partner is Johnny Sereno.
Don't worry, it's strictly a legitimate deal.
You say so, Joanne. Is he here?
Johnny? Right over there. Working the room.
But then I can't hammer a nail in straight either, and I own a couple of construction outfits.
Look, excuse me, I'll be back in a minute.
Great party, huh?
Yeah, thanks, Johnny.
Wonderful.
He passes out on you. Just give me the high side. Frank! What's the matter, pal? I haven't heard you congratulate me.
I'm supposed to congratulate you. You make a 10-minute pitch to the corners, and it takes me 6 weeks to draw up the papers.
Come on, a piece of cake. You never asked for a single change.
Now all we need is a country full of health nuts.
And we had that for starters.
Anyway, congratulations, Johnny. It's another winner.
Yeah. I'll talk to you later.
Give me another and lose the ice this time. It gets in the way.
Don't you think you've had enough?
Jiminy Cricket.
I mean it. Since we got here, you've been glued to that stool.
How would you know?
It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon, for God's sakes. You're making a fool out of yourself.
I'm making a fool out of you.
Okay. You just drink yourself to death if that's what you want to do.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, maybe I would.
I'm not going to make it that easy for you, Johnny. I'm going to put you through 7 kinds of hell first.
You even try, and it'll be the last thing you ever do.
Excuse me.
Hey, Nick. You wanted to see me?
Hello.
You got something to say, say it.
You screwed me over, Johnny. And I don't like it.
What are you talking about?
It's called a connection deal. You only a piece of that.
Oh, hey, I owe you nothing. And who the hell do you think you are trying to cut yourself in on my operations?
Don't treat me like some punk, Johnny. I can make a lot of trouble for you.
Was that a threat, Nicky?
Just telling you how it is.
I asked, was that a threat?
Johnny.
Was it? Because you know how I react to threats. Just like the old days. Like this. Get him out of here.
You paid for that, Johnny. I mean it.
To tell you the truth, I'm still nervous about this whole thing.
We've been over it and over it.
I know, but...
Look, Joe, we were washed up in more ways than one. On the verge of bankruptcy. Now we're on our way back. Just remember that. We're on our way back.
I am remembering.
Okay, come on.
You're a lot more dangerous than Nancy said you were.
Oh, yeah? Nancy who?
Nancy Gillis.
I'm Nancy.
She hasn't forgotten you either.
Have we met before? No. I would have remembered.
You bet you would have.
Listen. Have you seen the house? I mean, all of it?
Like the upstairs?
We've got some very interesting stuff up there.
More interesting than what I'm looking at now.
Maybe not.
Lead the way.
Ray, you can't keep doing this to yourself. No, Ray, no.
Frank, let me go.
Maria, just think about it.
I said, let me go.
Maria. Maria. Maria.
I will see you in court.
You bastard!
Maria!
Maria, listen to me. Maria.
I won! My God!
Maria, please.
No!
Honey! Honey! Look, you don't understand what that's
I
all
have
about.
understood what sex was since I was 10 years old.
Maria, you're in no condition to drive.
I just sobered up. The hard way.
Honey! Mike, you come!
Jack, over there. Where are your keys?
In the car.
Come on.
No, Jack, I appreciate your thinking of me. And 3 months in Florida is very tempting. Yes, Della?
Mr. Halloran's here.
Oh, bring him in. No, Jack, I'm sorry. But it would be impossible for me right now. Let me know how the case and the fishing comes out. Right. Goodbye, Jack. Well, Frank, I hope I didn't keep you waiting too long.
Just long enough so Della and I could catch up on things. Great to see you again, Perry.
Good to see you, too. The Bar Association seminar 3 years ago, right?
It's awful, isn't it? We live in the same city, and we have to go to San Francisco to see each other.
I'll be working on the Parker brief.
Della, why don't you stay? I may just need some support here.
Oh, sit down, both of you. What's this all about, Frank?
Remember when I called, I told you that I wanted to present something to you face to face?
I remember.
Perry. Oh, excuse me.
No, come in. Frank, This is...
Yeah, we met. We met at the party, you remember?
Oh, yeah, we have. Ken Malinsky.
Frank, this business or personal?
It's business.
Sit down, Ken.
Perry, do you know the name Johnny Sorrento?
Who doesn't?
Especially since his wife's murder 3 days ago.
This morning they arrested Johnny for the murder.
What's that got to do with you?
I'm Johnny's corporate attorney.
But Sorrento is a gangster.
You must have a rap sheet that could paper this office.
Now, look, I'll be the first to admit that Johnny Sorrento came out of the rackets. He'll tell you that himself. But he's been straight for the last 10 years, maybe longer. Believe me, Perry, when he came to me, I was just as skeptical as you. And I had him thoroughly, and I mean thoroughly, investigated. He was clean as a whistle.
How does he make a living?
He's a promoter, he's an entrepreneur into a dozen different enterprises. Shopping centers, construction companies, new chain of fitness centers, even a movie company. But everything is strictly legitimate. I know. I negotiated most of the deals myself.
And you want me to represent him on this murder charge?
Well, Perry, I'm no criminal attorney. He's out on bail, and he wants you.
Oh, Frank, I don't think so.
Any way that I can convince you just to meet him as a personal favor?
I will think about that. But that's all I can promise.
Can't ask for more.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Thanks, Perry. Stella? Ken? Thanks. I can find my way out.
Bye, Frank.
Well, what do you think?
Remember the speech you made at that same Bar Association seminar?
What about it?
You said in this country, every person is entitled under the law to a legal defense, even the lowliest and the most despised.
You went on to say the more serious the crime, the more important the defense, and you said something about it being the attorney's job to defend any accused, and how it was only the jury or the judge who should determine guilt.
In other words, you think I should take the case.
I don't think you're going to reject it out of hand.
What do you think?
I think you should reject it out of hand.
Johnny Sorrento changed his stripes? Somebody's really putting you on. You know, down at the shop, we can't believe you're even talking to him.
Your men found the murder weapon?
Yeah, under some brush on the side of the hill about 60 yards above where the car went over. And we also found the butt of a cigarillo there, and the laboratory has already identified it as exactly the kind Johnny Sorrento smokes. You see, he has them made up special, smuggles them in from Cuba. He's quite a piece of work.
And the rifle was registered to Sorrento.
That's right.
Any prints?
Only his.
But Johnny left the party after his wife. I saw him.
Yeah, immediately afterwards, which means he obviously had some pre-planned vantage point behind and above her. By the way, you know we do have a witness who saw and heard Sorrento threaten his wife's life not 20 minutes before she was killed.
You have a motive?
The best, filing for divorce. And it would have cost him millions in a settlement. Hood like Sorrento wouldn't like that.
I was just told that he's been clean and out of the rackets for 10 years.
Mr. Mason, you could take a man out of the mob, but you cannot take the mob out of the man. At downtown, we got 10 to 1 odds you're going to walk away from this one.
And if he's innocent?
Johnny Sorrento never drew an innocent breath in his life, even if he didn't kill his wife. And I say he did. He's still got a lifetime of other dues he owes.
Sergeant Baranski, you'd better let your mind go back over what you just said. Mr. Malinsky? But you were in the rackets. Loan sharking, running, making collections, the whole works.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. But you gotta understand something. I grew up on the streets of Jersey City. And it was like going to school. Everybody was into it. My old man, his old man, too. They were both into it since they were kids. I mean, it was all I knew.
What about enforcement?
No, that wasn't my department. I mean, I guess I had to make some threats once in a while, but I didn't go around breaking knees or anything, if that's what you mean.
The family business. How can you prove you're not part of it still?
Guess you just have to take my word for it. Maybe Frank's.
Perry knows what I think, Johnny. I've told him you're absolutely clean.
Yeah, the family business. And to tell you the truth, my old man didn't want me anywhere near it. He actually put away money for me to go to college. But I was a smart-ass kid. I thought I knew everything already. Anyhow, I put in 16 years. Then I got out. I had to.
Why?
A lot of reasons. I guess I saw too many of my old buddies wind up dead or in the slammer. Then I got married, I had a kid. I guess I turned into my old man. I mean, I didn't want my son mixed up in all that either. So I got out. And believe me, Mr. Mason, I'd never go back.
Perry, he's telling the truth.
It's okay, Frank. I'm not sure I'd believe me either. But Mr. Mason, it does happen to be true.
You were found by the Calders at the edge of the cliff. Then the police found all of you there. Then your rifle was found.
I know. But I hadn't touched the thing in months. I do a little hunting sometimes.
Where did you keep the gun?
In the back of some closet I can't even remember.
Somebody could have taken it without your knowledge?
Anybody could have taken it. People are in and out of here all day long.
They found only your prints on the gun.
And whoever stole it must have worn gloves.
And the cigarillo they found?
I leave them all over the place, just like this.
You think somebody's trying to frame you?
Of course. And that's what's driving me nuts. Look, as long as the cops are looking at me, they're not looking anyplace else. And I want whoever did it nailed. And nailed good.
Who would have wanted your wife dead?
That's just it. Nobody. Look, there are a lot of guys out there that would love to see me ice, some from the old days, some from now. But nobody could have had it in for her. The way I figure it, somebody was either trying to get back at me or they were, and this is more like it, they thought I was driving the damn car.
But it was daylight.
Yeah, well, the shooter was what? He was 60, 70 yards away and the car had tinted windows?
The police think you killed your wife because she was going to file for divorce.
Look, Mr. Mason, I wasn't the easiest guy to live with. But I loved her. We had some bad times. I caught her with another guy. She swore to me that she had never slept with him, and I could never prove that she had. So we just went on. But it was never the same. She started drinking. I started whoring around. And yet somehow we got through all that. And yeah, she talked about divorce. But she never went through with it, and she never would have. I mean, she still loved me even after 23 years. And I still loved her. So bottom line, you're gonna take my case or not?
I'll let you know.
Perry.
Frank, I'll let you know.
Hello? Yeah, Della. Hold on a second.
Yes, Dylan?
Perry, I thought you should hear this right away. Johnny and Maria Sorrento have a 21-year-old son, Jeff. And he tried to kill his father 2 years ago with a .38 revolver.
Why are you asking me all this stuff anyway? What do you think, maybe I had something to do with my mother's murder?
Not at all. I was
She's
just...
the only person in this world who ever gave a damn about me.
I think your father gives a damn.
Yeah.
You know, there's a theory that whoever shot at the car thought your father was driving it.
Oh, I wish he had been.
You hate him that much?
Listen, My old man quit picking me up and holding me when I was 5. Ever since then, he's never been there, not for me or her. Now, why wouldn't I hate him?
That's why you tried to kill him 2 years ago.
Hey, look, I didn't try and kill him. I was messed up on drugs then. He was threatening to put me away someplace. Down to his office to maybe scare him out of it. He grabbed for the gun. It went off. It was an accident, that's all.
You're clean now.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom got me into a recovery program. I've been off the stuff for almost a year now. Like I said, she's the only one who ever cared.
No, I think your father cares. When was the last time you saw him?
I saw him at the funeral yesterday. I didn't talk to him. Before that, not since that gun business. He kicked me out of the house.
Where were you when your mother was killed?
Saturday. I was home watching a game on TV. If only I'd been with her, maybe she'd still be alive.
If only you'd been with your father, you'd know he didn't kill her.
Yeah, right.
We're taking the case.
I'll call Frank Halloran. Well, Johnny Sorrento is a hood. I just don't think he's the type of client we should have in this office.
Who should we represent? Just college professors, presidential candidates, Nobel Prize winners?
Why doesn't he get one of these hotshots who makes a living defending wise guys?
You are a friend of Mike Calder, right?
More or less.
You like him?
Yes and no.
More or less. Yes and no.
Well, we were in the same dorm at college, so we should be friends. But I don't know, he was always so perfect. All-American running back, great looks, prom queens hanging on each arm, all that stuff. I don't know if I just don't like him or if I've always been jealous.
Why did you go to his party?
Same reason I go to any party. To meet women, why?
Well, if he's part of this case, you'd probably rather I talk to him.
That's okay.
Perry, more background information. 3 years ago, Johnny was arrested in Vail. He was suspected of murdering a drug dealer called Ray Dominic.
I thought Frank Halloran told us Johnny had been straight for the last 10 years.
Well, he was released when another man, Dave Barrett, confessed to the crime.
What happened to this Barrett?
He was convicted of manslaughter. Got 5 years, served 3. Sergeant Baranski told me Barrett was released a month ago, but almost rearrested.
What for?
Barrett tried to attack Johnny at a restaurant, a Nick's Place, but Johnny wouldn't sign the complaint.
I'll try to contact this Barrett. Baranski's office must know where to find him.
And track down that girl at the party.
The one who went upstairs with Johnny? I think her name's Karen Thatcher.
Karen Thatcher.
Where are you going?
I'm going to see your friend Mike Calder, and then I'm going to have lunch at Nick's Place. Mr. Calder, I must say you do have a beautiful home here.
Thanks. And with your help, maybe I can keep it.
My help?
Yeah. Getting Johnny acquitted. You know the Calder connection, fitness centers. Problem is, it'll never get off the ground without Johnny's backing.
You couldn't swing it yourself?
Mr. Mason, I'm just about broke. You see, we bought this place when I was making big bucks in the pros. Then I tore up my knee. The money stopped.
There must have been other opportunities.
To tell you the truth, the only trade I ever learned was how to take a hand off and run like hell. Suppose I could get a job coaching at some backwater college, but that wouldn't be fair to Joanna.
Mr. Mason, all we've done the past few years is go through our capital.
So when Johnny came to me with this fitness center deal, I jumped at it. All I had to do was lend my name and make a few TV commercials, and I was in for 40%.
Did you know Johnny's background?
Sure. But we gave him the benefit of the doubt. 40% is 40%.
Mrs. Calder, do you have a copy of the guest list for the party?
Sure, I'll get one to you.
Thank you. By the way, did you notice anyone other than Nick Angel leave the party before Mrs. Sorrento?
I didn't notice anyone.
I didn't either. But there was a big crowd.
Your partnership agreement with Mr. Sorrento, does it provide for mutual life insurance policies?
To tell you the truth, I never read the whole thing. I guess I should have, huh?
I would have, but then I'm a lawyer.
Mr. Mason, you can get him off. We've got a lot at stake.
So does Johnny.
Yeah?
Dave Barrett live here?
Who wants to know?
My name's Ken Molansky. I work for the attorney who's representing Johnny Sorrento. Can I talk to you for a minute?
Yeah, well, my husband's not here right now, so, guess not.
That's okay. I think you can tell me what I want to know. If you're long?
2.5, 3 years.
Your husband, he was just released from prison.
Yeah. And right now he's out looking for a job.
Must be tough out there for an ex-con.
Look, why don't you come back later and ask him, okay?
So what do you think? Bronx gonna trade Winder?
What?
Still warm. And no lipstick. Mr. Barrett, my name's Molansky.
I'm sorry, honey. I tried to stop him.
I hear you say you're Johnny Serrano's lawyer.
I work with Perry Mason. He's representing Mr. Sorrento.
Look, I already talked to the cops.
Why the cops?
Because like you probably know, I took a swing at Serrano a couple of weeks ago.
Have anything to do with the Ray Dominic murder?
Not murder. Manslaughter. But yeah, that was part of it.
You mind talking about it?
It ain't no secret. I used to work for Johnny. I drove for him back east and then out here. But I had a little thing going on the side.
Dealing drugs?
Yeah. Anyhow, Dominic was holding out on me. So I went to see him one night. He pulled a knife and I shot him.
Why'd you pick up Johnny?
I used his car to go see Dominic, and somebody made the plate as I was driving away.
Now, how'd they nail you?
I was dumb. I didn't get rid of the gun, and they found it with my prints, so I had to cop a plea.
And they let Johnny go.
He had an alibi anyway.
That still doesn't explain why you took a swing at him that night.
Look, I did 3 years, hard time for the Dominic thing. And I figured Johnny'd give me a job when I got out. So I went to see him, told him I really needed the dough and didn't care what kind of work it was. Well, he said he was strictly legit, and he couldn't afford to have an ex-con on his payroll. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, when I saw him a couple of nights later at Nick's, I sort of lost it and went for him.
Look, Mr. Barrett, the reason I'm here is because we're trying to find out who actually killed Maria Sorrento.
And you came to me? Huh? Why the hell would I kill her? I think you better get out of here, mister.
Yeah, sure. But first, would you mind telling me where you were at the time of Maria Sorrento's murder?
Yeah, we were here. Together. The whole day.
Oh, I can't tell you how lucky you are to have an alibi from such an impartial witness. Thanks for your time.
I'm looking for Nick Angel.
I'm not sure he's here.
My name's Mason. I'm an attorney.
There's some guy named Mason who wants to see Nick. Okay?
Okay, we'll talk later. You're Mason.
That's right.
I heard about you. I'm Nick Angel. It's my wife, Connie.
How do you do?
Pleased to meet you.
I heard you're representing Johnny. He and I grew up in the same neighborhood in Jersey.
Did you come out here with him?
No, I came out here first and worked around and finally opened this place about 2-3 years ago.
Then you weren't part of Johnny's organization in the East?
No, we traveled in different circles.
No offense, Mr. Angel, but your circle must have played a little rough.
Yeah?
Yeah. You've served time for armed robbery and assault. You were charged at various times with extortion, arson, even attempted murder.
What do you want, Mason?
Well, I believe Johnny's innocent. I believe somebody else killed Maria.
And you want to pin it on me? You're nuts.
You and Johnny had a fight at the Calder party. What was it about?
Ask him.
I did. I want to hear your side of it.
Yeah, that's fair. Johnny owed me some points on that fitness center deal. See, I introduced Mike Calder to Johnny in the first place, so there wouldn't be any Calder connection if it weren't for me. Anyhow, when I tried to talk to him about it at the party, he blew up. He slugged me.
And you were heard to tell Johnny that he'd pay for that.
Come on, it's something you say when you're mad, that's all.
You made a threat, and 15 minutes later, Johnny's car was fired on. Having left the party early, you wouldn't have known he wasn't driving.
I'd like to see you make that charge in public, Mason. I'd sue your tail off. You know, I heard about Maria finding Johnny at the party with some dame. It's typical. Give Johnny a ladder, he'd hit on a giraffe. I'll tell you, I'm still surprised, though.
Why?
Well, I thought he had this thing going with Joanna Calder. But I guess you knew about that.
Of course. Doesn't everybody?
Well, I suppose there are too many people who know for me to deny it. So, I had an affair with Johnny. If you want to call it that.
What would you call it?
A mistake. It went on for a couple of months and then it ended.
Your ending or his?
His. Johnny has a low threshold of boredom. When Mike found out, things got pretty ugly for a while.
But not ugly enough to call off the partnership.
Mason, if you make any of that public, I'll sue you for slander, and Joanna will deny everything.
One reason Maria was divorcing Johnny was because she found out about his affair with your wife.
I think you got that wrong.
And you, Mr. Calder, were you just going to overlook it?
Joanna and I were going through a bad period then, Mason. We've worked it out now.
Johnny's forgiven?
It wasn't anyone's fault, really.
That's an interesting attitude. I looked at your partnership, at the papers. If anything happens to Johnny, you will have a lot of money coming to you. A lot of money. Ken, stay on Dave Barrett. By the way, did you get in touch with...
The girl at the party, Karen Thatcher? I called her apartment.
But her roommate said she's out of town for a few days.
How'd you know she had a roommate?
Oh, no, just figures.
Well, she should be back soon, maybe by tomorrow.
Well, Della, that leaves the guest list.
Frank and I went over it twice. Everybody except Johnny's bodyguards seemed to be friends of the Calders.
That's right. By the way, Perry, Johnny wants to see you as soon as possible.
Look.
I think it's something personal. It hasn't anything to do with the case.
I hate to say this, especially with Mr. Halloran here. But why are we so certain Johnny didn't do it? A divorce would have cost him millions of dollars.
How much would have been involved, Frank?
Millions of dollars. But Johnny has many millions of dollars. I mean, whatever a divorce would have cost, it never would have been enough to justify his killing Maria.
And wait a second.
His womanizing aside, Johnny really loved Maria. Besides, men from Johnny's background, I mean, they like to think they control their women. They don't kill them.
You don't know where a guy like this draws the line about killing. I saw the way he took care of Nick Angel. Believe me, he didn't look like any Boy Scout, Frank.
Johnny didn't kill Maria.
Thank you, Frank. Della. Ken, this office is defending Johnny Sorrento, but you're certainly free to disassociate yourself from this case if that's how you feel.
No, I'm in it for the duration. But I can't help how I feel.
A lot of guys in the department lost a lot of money betting on Mason. It still doesn't make sense. I mean, you guys working for a hood like Sorrento.
So who should we represent? Just heads of state? Pulitzer Prize winners? The United Nations?
It's okay. I didn't bet.
So what about the Dominic case?
It's like I told you. I thought we had Sorrento nailed, but he got away.
Well, I guess that's what happens when somebody else is guilty.
It happened in Vail, so I wasn't directly involved.
Who was?
That would be Lieutenant Wyatt's case, but he was killed last year. Skiing accident. So, why are you so interested in the Dominic case?
Just curious?
Really curious?
Yeah.
Well, I'll call the station in Vail, have them fax you a police report.
Thanks.
Molansky, right?
Right.
You know, I remember the Dominic case, and I always felt like there was something fishy about it.
Well, sorry we had to meet here, but I had to appear before the judge.
That's all right, Mr. Mason. Frank tells me you saw my son.
Yes, I like him.
And he hates my guts.
He thinks he hates your guts.
That's what I wanted to see you about. I'd like you to talk to him, you know, tell him I'd like to see him, maybe straighten things out between us.
You mean that?
Yeah. You see, since Maria was... now that his mother's gone, I think it would be good for both of us, getting together. I tried, but he wouldn't even answer my calls.
How long has it been since you kicked him out?
He was into that drug thing, and it was driving me crazy. Look, just tell him that I think we need each other right now, okay?
I'll tell him. I can't promise he'll listen.
Come on in.
Excuse me, I'll...
Mr. Mason, please. Stay. I sort of thought that you and I could get back together again. Start over or something.
Like nothing ever happened.
Look. Why don't we just forget about all the bad stuff that happened, and...
What, pretend like you were this really great father?
Oh, come on, Jeff.
Or like you were this really great husband?
That's not fair.
Yeah? Well, how fair was it to Mom, the way you always chased your damn women around? Made her so crazy jealous she turned into a drunk.
Look, son, I made mistakes.
And what about me? Are you fair to me? You kicked me out of the house.
Jeff, you know why I did.
Hey, look, all I know is I was hurting. You turned your back on me.
I know. And I'm sorry. Listen, I screwed up a lot. But right now, I think we could really help each other.
No. I'm off the stuff. I got a job, and I'm doing just fine, okay?
What job? That crummy construction...
Hey, look, it's not that bad, okay? I don't need any help from you.
Oh, yeah? How the hell do you think you got that job, huh? I got it for you. It's my company. Where do you think you're going?
To go to your company, I quit!
Okay. I was wrong. Real wrong.
Jeff, you're sure you know what you're doing?
Do you really think that I would have taken that stinking job in the first place if I knew it was another one of his crooked deals?
How do you know it's crooked?
Because everything he touches is crooked. Don't you get it? My dad's a gangster.
From everything I know, he's been out of all of that for years.
Yeah, well, that's crap. He's in it up to his neck, always has been.
How do you know that?
My mom told me. Probably would all come out at the divorce. I guess that's why he killed her.
Jeff, someone killed your mother, but it wasn't Johnny. Do me a favor. When the hearing starts, I'd like you there.
What for?
So you can hear the evidence and judge for yourself. Now, you owe him that much. Jeff, you owe yourself that much.
Nice spring.
You following me or what?
Yeah. Said you're out looking for work. I just wanted to find out where.
Well, now you know. So you can get the hell out of here.
Your condo. Found out your wife paid cash for it right after you went to prison. Until then, you were living in a two-room walk-up at $300 a month.
Look, I put some dough away before I was sent up. I wanted Paula to have it easy while I was inside.
Condo cost $250,000. That's a lot of dough to have stashed away, especially for a guy who was working as a driver.
I told you I had some stuff going on the side.
My guess is killing Ray Dominic got you a bundle.
Oh, yeah? From who?
You tell me.
What the hell do you want?
I want to know who killed Maria Sorrento.
Yeah? Well, it wasn't me. If you're saying it was, your mouth's about to get you in some bad trouble, my man.
Where'd you get the money for the big new car with the phone and the CD player?
You lousy son of a...
Get out of here, mister. We don't want any trouble.
There won't be any trouble.
Next time it'll be for real.
Well, I'm striking out with Dave Barrett. He's got a lot of money from somewhere, but he'll never tell me where he got it.
Somebody must have paid him for killing Dominic 3 years ago.
Well, our illustrious client was arrested for it first. You think it was him?
I don't know. But I think Barrett knows a lot more about both murders than he's told us so far.
Well, it's a dead end for me. He almost ran me down yesterday afternoon. Before that, he tried to brain me with a pool cue.
Then get to his wife somehow. I want to know if Johnny was any part of this Dominic business.
I'll do what I can.
Good. Hearing starts tomorrow morning. And don't forget to follow up on Karen Thatcher.
What can she tell us?
What she was doing at the party. Did the callers invite her? If not, who did? Della.
Well, she should be back in town by now.
Good, find her.
Right.
Della, those financial statements, any luck?
I'm still working on them. And the phone records you wanted.
We need them. Hearing starts tomorrow.
Thank you. Clean out about
Paula, isn't it? If Dave didn't do anything wrong, you shouldn't be afraid to talk to me. The money for the condo, the car, where'd he get it? Killing Dominic? Or something else?
How dare you talk to me like that?
Is there a problem, lady? Is this guy bothering you?
Yeah, this guy is bothering me. Just made a very obscene proposition. I'm gonna go talk to the manager about that.
Look, pal, this is a great place to pick up chicks, but you gotta be a little bit more subtle, okay?
More subtle, right? More subtle.
That the result of your research on the Calders?
The top one. It's very interesting.
Well, well, well.
Well, this is the police report on the Dominic murder. It was just faxed in from Vail, and I was reading it as it came off the machine. Johnny Sorrento's alibi was provided by the manager of a restaurant here in town. He claimed Johnny and his wife were having dinner at his place at the time of the murder.
Della, I can read. I can read.
And the manager's name is Nick Angel. Do you find that interesting?
Yeah. Nick Angel's statement not only gives Johnny an alibi, it also gives Nick an alibi.
Is Karen Thatcher in?
Karen, someone's here to see you.
Oh. Excuse me. My name's Ken Molansky.
Janice Kirkwood. I'm sorry, I'm running late for work.
No, I'm sorry. We were just getting acquainted.
Well, maybe later.
Count on it.
Great. Hi.
Hi. Ken Molansky. Was that your roommate?
Janice, yeah. She's a dance teacher.
And you're Karen Thatcher.
Do I know you?
I saw you at the Calder party. I work with an attorney who's representing Johnny Sorrento.
Oh. Wasn't that just awful? I mean, his wife getting killed like that. I feel just terrible about it. Did he really do it?
We don't think so. Why were you at the party?
I was only there because Maria invited me.
Maria Sorrento?
You see, we both went to the same beauty shop and got to be really good friends. It seemed like she really needed one, too. Like she was real lonely or something. Anyhow, she asked me to go to this party so she'd have somebody to talk to. She didn't care much for her husband's friends, and there wouldn't be anybody else there she knew.
And you stayed with her at the party?
For a while, but then, well, then she started drinking, and I was sort of left on my own.
And then you decided to get acquainted with her husband.
I know, it sounds awful. But see, Maria told me she was filing for a divorce, so I didn't think I was like trespassing or anything. And Johnny Sorrento sure is a fascinating guy.
And you didn't think she'd mind you going upstairs with her husband?
I don't know. But I sure was blown away when she busted in and yelled at him the way she did. I mean, she told me she hated him, and I guess what I'm trying to say is that argument they had wasn't really my fault. But I still feel really rotten about it. I mean, what if she hadn't have driven away like that, so upset? Then maybe she wouldn't have been...
You couldn't have foreseen something like that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. But I can't help it. Every time I think about it, I just start to cry.
All these pictures. You an actress?
Trying to be. But so far, all I've done is a little modeling.
Well, I won't take up any more of your time.
Dave Barrett's just a punk. He had Ray Dominic killed over a drug deal that went bad.
You didn't give him a job when he got out of prison. Maybe he has it in for you.
It wasn't a mistake hiring him in the first place. It caused me enough trouble.
I mean, using your car when he killed Dominic.
Yeah. He's not only a punk, he's a dumb punk. So, how's it look?
We'll find out in the morning. Hearing's at 10 o'clock.
Do you know the name of the beauty shop your wife went to?
Yeah, it's, Paul Garcia's. Why do you want to know? Get back!
Perry! Stay with him. This is an emergency. There's been a shooting. We're at 1655 Quincy. Send an ambulance.
Tomorrow morning, Mr. Mason will be in court again.
There'll be no continuance.
I'm sorry, we have nothing more to say at this time.
Well, then he said that if she ever tried anything like that, it'd be the last thing she ever did.
And from the tone in his voice, did you believe this to be an actual physical threat?
Objection. Improper opinion and relevancy.
Sustained.
Mr. Halstead, was Mr. Sorrento smiling when he said this to his wife?
No, he looked really mean.
Thank you, Mr. Halstead. No further questions.
Mr. Halstead, how long have you worked as a bartender?
About 11 years.
And I imagine you must have witnessed quite a few arguments.
Yes, sir.
In which one person threatened to do bodily harm to the other.
Yes, sir, and many times they did.
But did you ever find it necessary to call the police because of verbal threats you may have heard?
No.
No? Why is that, Mr. Halstead?
Well, you know, people get drunk and a lot of stuff gets said that really doesn't mean anything.
No further questions.
An attorney? You're not representing that Hart Crane woman, are you? The one claiming we burnt her scalp?
No. Actually, I wanted to ask you a few questions about Maria Sorrento.
Wasn't that the most awful thing? I mean, I adore that woman. And when I heard what happened, I couldn't even come into work. I just stayed home and cried my eyes out.
What I wanted to know was how close a friend was Mrs. Sorrento to Karen Thatcher?
Who?
Karen Thatcher.
No, I don't believe I know the name.
She was a customer here, early 20s, blonde.
Anybody here heard of Karen Thatcher? No, I'm sure she isn't one of our people.
Is it possible Mrs. Sorrento went to another shop sometimes?
Of course not. Maria was in here at least twice a week for years. Matter of fact, poor darling was in here the day she passed away. Get her hair done for that party she was going to.
I see. Well, thanks for your time.
And then when we got into the room, he grabbed me and started kissing me. And then the next thing I knew, Maria burst into the room and said that she'd see him in court. Wow. And then she ran out. And that's really all I know.
Thank you, Miss Thatcher. Your Honor, the prosecution rests.
Does the defense wish to cross-examine?
Not at this time, Your Honor, but we reserve the right to recall this witness.
Granted. You may call your first witness, Mr. Mason, and you may step down.
You and your wife, Joanna, were the first to arrive at the scene of Maria Sorrento's crash and find Johnny Sorrento on the edge of the cliff, unable to help her, were you not?
Yes, apparently we arrived shortly after Johnny did.
Now, you say shortly. Would there have been enough time for Johnny Sorrento to have stopped his car somewhere down the mountain, picked up a gun, and shot Maria's car off the road?
Well,
Be very careful how you answer the question, Mr. Calder.
If Johnny had stopped the car, left the motor running, fired the gun, and then raced down the hill, yes, there would have been enough time.
Thank you, Mr. Calder. That will be... Oh, there is something else. If Johnny had time to stop his car and shoot a gun at Maria and then continue down the mountain, so did you.
Now, just a minute.
No further questions.
Mr. Stewart?
No questions.
Defense calls Joanna Calder. All the events mentioned in your husband's testimony happened just as he said they did.
Absolutely.
You followed Johnny Sorrento down the mountain. The car you followed him with was yours, was it not?
Yes, it was my car.
Ms. Calder, there's a very odd rack in the back of your car. What is it used for?
Guns.
Guns? Yes. Yes, it would appear that your husband wasn't the only sports person in your family.
No, I was a champion in France in 1988.
In what sport?
Biathlon. Well, I'm a skier, you see.
In the biathlon, you also have to use a rifle, do you not?
Yes, I'm an expert with the rifle.
So, in reality, if you had shot Maria Sorrento off the road, you could have used Johnny's gun or one of yours. Thank you, Ms. Calder. No further questions.
No questions.
You may step down.
Well, I was wondering when you'd get here.
Why, who's up next?
You.
And I could hear the bullets hitting just over my head.
As far as you know, Mr. Molansky, was anybody aware that you and I were going to be at the defendant's house last evening?
Objection. While the witness's story is very exciting, I fail to see how this so-called armed attack has any relevancy here.
Relevance? Here's your relevance. Your Honor, part of our defense will be to establish that Mr. Sorrento was the target of the gunman when his wife was killed. Therefore, Mr. Molansky's testimony is offered to prove a continuing pattern of armed assaults against Mr. Sorrento.
Mr. Stewart,
I withdraw the objection.
the witness will answer the question.
To the best of my knowledge, except for the defendant himself, nobody else knew that you and I were to be there at that time.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Molansky, is it true that immediately following this incident, you placed a phone call to the police?
That's right.
What was the subject of that call?
To report the attack, of course, and to give them a description of the car and a partial license plate number.
Your Honor, may I approach the bench?
Your Honor, I know this is unusual, but a rebuttal witness has just come to our attention, and I would like permission to examine him at this time.
Mr. Stewart, you know how I feel about surprises.
I understand, and I apologize, Your Honor, but this matter only just came to our attention.
Mr. Mason, of course, you have every right to object, and quite frankly, I would be disposed to sustain.
Quite frankly, Your Honor, I'd like to see what excites the prosecution so much. I've no objection.
Very well, gentlemen.
I call Albert Farrow to the stand.
The police picked up me and Paul Gilardi and took us in for questioning.
Why did they do that?
Because somebody ID'd our car, they said.
Were you arrested?
Well, yeah, for the shoot-up at Johnny Sorrento's place.
Were you and Mr. Gilardi the ones doing the shooting?
Well, yeah, but we wasn't trying to hurt anybody. It was just a stunt.
Did someone pay you for that stunt?
Yeah.
And is that someone in this courtroom?
Well, sure. Johnny did.
Let the record show that the witness indicated the defendant.
Hey, believe me, I don't know how Mr. Mason got shot. I mean, we was aiming over their heads. It must have been an accident.
No more questions.
Your Honor, I request a 15-minute recess.
All I can say is I'm sorry. I'm very sorry.
Sorry doesn't cut it, does it?
Johnny, I don't know what you could have been thinking about.
It's just that you guys weren't giving me much encouragement, and I figured we could use a little help.
Call that charade help?
Look, I said I was sorry, and I swear I didn't mean for you to get hurt. I didn't want anyone to get hurt.
You're the one that got hurt. I don't know whether we can repair that damage or not. But if you don't shape up, you can find yourself another lawyer. You hear that, Frank?
I hear.
You hear that, Johnny?
Yeah, I really hear that.
And you testified Maria Sorrento invited you to the party.
That's right.
You became friends with Maria at a beauty shop you both went to.
Yes, sir.
Miss Thatcher, what if I told you that the only beauty shop Maria Sorrento patronized is called Paul Garcia's, and that nobody there ever heard of you? You know what perjury is, don't you?
Yes.
Then perhaps you should tell us who invited you to the Calder party.
It was a man I was involved with.
Objection. I fail to see how the love life of the witness has any relevancy to this case.
Your Honor, the argument between the defendant and his wife resulted in Mrs. Sorrento driving home alone and being the sole victim of the killer. Consequently, all circumstances surrounding that argument are extremely relevant to the defense.
I'll allow the question, and I hope the relevance will soon be more apparent.
I assure the court it will be.
Then you may continue.
May I ask why, if you were involved with this man, you agreed to go upstairs with the defendant? Surely you must have guessed what he had in mind.
Well, my friend wasn't paying any attention to me, and Well, I thought that I could make him jealous or something. I mean, it was really stupid because, you see, he's married. And I knew he didn't want anybody to think there was anything between us, but I was just feeling so rejected.
Miss Thatcher, who is this man?
Oh, do I have to say?
I would say you have to say.
His name is, Nick Angel.
Anyhow, I couldn't let anyone know that Karen and I were together. I knew I'd get back to my wife.
But you did invite her to the party.
I wasn't planning to. When she heard about it, she insisted on going. And, well, since my wife wasn't going to be there anyway, one of us always has to be at the restaurant. Like a real dummy, I said okay.
And you'd been seeing her secretly for what, days, weeks, months?
Yeah. The worst part is I was planning on breaking it off as soon as I could.
Why were you going to do that?
'Cause they knew I was acting like a real jerk. Karen was young enough to be my daughter. Besides, I was getting scared. I mean, if my wife had found out about it, I knew she'd walk. I really love Connie. I guess I was just going through what do you call it? A midlife crisis or something. Trouble is, it'll probably cost me my marriage.
Is it true Johnny Sorrento provided the financing for your restaurant?
Yeah, most of it. But it paid off for him, too.
Is it also true that 3 years ago you provided an alibi for Johnny with respect to the murder of Ray Dominic?
Johnny didn't need an alibi. Some other guy confessed.
Dave Barrett. But before Dave Barrett confessed, you gave a statement to the police that at the time of the murder, Mr. Sorrento and his wife were dining in a restaurant managed by you.
Yeah, so what? They were there.
They were?
Yeah, they were.
I've no more questions.
Mr. Stewart?
No, no questions.
Then we'll recess for half an hour and resume at 3 o'clock.
Here's your coat.
Thank you.
How do you feel?
Oh, some days have been better.
Think that was a good idea? Making it seem like Nick was lying about the alibi he gave Johnny?
To find who killed Maria Sorrento, we need the truth from everyone.
You think the alibi was a lie?
Well, let's say I have a strong feeling both Karen Thatcher and Nick Angel were not telling the truth. Ken, I want you to get a subpoena for Karen Thatcher's roommate.
But you don't know what she's gonna say.
So you serve the subpoena and talk to her before I put her on the stand.
Well, I can do that.
Harry, I was afraid I'd miss you. Have you taken your medicine?
No. What's this?
Oh, well, these are the financial reports you wanted. They were delivered to the office just a few moments ago.
Good.
And here are the phone records, too.
Here. I'll go over them later. Now, I'm sure Nick was lying. Not exactly the portrait of a cheating husband and his jealous wife, is it?
Great. That was great, ladies. I'll see you all on Friday.
Hi. You remember me?
Sure. You, here to sign up for a class?
No, I'm not a dancer.
Then what?
This, I'm afraid. I was hoping to see you again under different circumstances.
Well, this is a subpoena.
Yeah, we want you to testify at Johnny Sereno's trial about Karen Thatcher.
What can I say about Karen?
What is there to say?
To tell you the truth, I was planning on kicking her out of the apartment. She hasn't paid her share of the rent in 3 months. And she also hit on this guy that I was dating. I mean, we're talking about a real flake.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you get changed and we'll head right over to the courthouse.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Are you saying she wasn't romantically involved with a man named Nick Angel?
Nick Angel? She hated Nick Angel. She worked for him about a year ago as a waitress. He promised her he'd help her get a job in show business. Then after about 4 months, when he didn't make good, she told him off and quit.
Do you know how or why Miss Thatcher was invited to the Calder party?
She told me that she was going to the party as part of some weird job, and that it would lead to a part in a Hollywood movie.
Thank you, Miss Kirkwood. Thank you very much. I have no more questions.
No questions.
In that case, we'll recess until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Excuse me for interrupting, but are we going to be here much longer?
No, as a matter of fact, you can leave immediately.
Good.
I want you to get a subpoena issued and served on Dave Barrett tonight.
But I have a dinner date with Janice Kirkwood tonight.
That's all right. She can go with us. Della and I will take very good care of her. Will we not?
Oh, yeah. The Rose Room at the Carlton. Would that be all right?
Oh, that'd be great. Just great.
Barrett!
What the hell is you doing?
Let's go.
No. Leave the lady alone.
She's a witness to a murder. If she doesn't come with me now, the cops will stop you on the road. Make it fast. Paula.
No, if I stay, they'll kill me too.
Who will?
I don't know. But they got Davy. They got Davy and they're gonna get me too.
Not if we find them first. We'll protect you, I promise.
Please, look, just let me get out of town, okay? Let me get out.
You know I can't do that. I'll make it easy on both of us.
Okay, you'll really give me some protection.
All you want.
And so, Mrs. Barrett,
Your Honor, may I have a moment, please?
Very well, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor, may I have a moment? You gave the prosecutor the ballistics report on the bullet that killed Barrett?
Yes.
Well?
Well, didn't match with anything in our files.
Did you ever test the bullet that went through me?
I guess they thought it wasn't necessary. It had to come either from Farrow's gun or Gilardi's gun.
Sergeant, I need your help fast. Check that bullet through. Let me know the results immediately. Thank you, Your Honor. Before the interruption, Mrs. Barrett, you were telling us your husband did not kill Ray Dominic.
Your Honor,
As we discussed in chambers this morning, the prosecution has continuing hearsay and relevancy objections to Mr. Mason's entire line of questioning of this witness.
Your objections are noted, Mr. Stewart, but the court is overruling those objections for now. You may, of course, move to strike should Mr. Mason fail to fulfill the promise of proof he made to this court.
Thank you again, Your Honor. Mrs. Barrett, your husband did not kill Ray Dominic, did he?
No. We weren't even in town that day. We could have proved it.
Then why did he confess?
He got paid $500,000. $5,000 a month while he was in prison. I begged him not to do it. He said he could earn more money in jail for a couple of years than he could on the outside. So.
Do you know who paid him this money?
He told me it was better if I didn't know.
Now, Mrs. Barrett, you told the police that on the day Maria Sorrento was killed, your husband never left home. Now, that wasn't true, was it? Mrs. Barrett, there's nothing more for you to fear. Now, please, tell us.
No. He wasn't home that day.
Do you know where he was?
He was on a hill overlooking Crestline Road. Waiting to kill Maria Sorrento.
Objection, Your Honor. Motion to strike.
Motion to strike denied. Proceed, Mr. Mason.
How do you know where your husband was when Maria Sorrento was killed?
He told me where he was going. He even showed me the rifle he stole from Johnny's house. And then, when he got back, he said it all went like clockwork.
Did he tell you why he killed Mrs. Sorrento?
He didn't have to. I knew. He already got paid $250,000. He's supposed to get another $250,000 after he did it.
How did you know that?
Heard him talking on the phone with this guy a few times. Well, once when I answered the phone, this guy asked for Dave, and Dave, motioned for me to get on the extension. So I did.
Your Honor.
I know, Mr. Mason. Have your moment, but make it brief.
Mrs. Barrett, why did you and Dave go to Nick's place last night?
Because this same guy calls up and tells Dave to get over there and collect the rest of the money. I know it was the same guy because I answered the phone again.
Whose voice was it?
I don't know.
Was it Johnny Sorrento?
No. I would have known him.
No further questions, but I request the right to recall the witness.
Granted. Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Barrett, you're telling us that your husband took the fall for someone else in the murder of Ray Dominic.
That's right.
Well, tell us, if you know, who that someone else was.
My husband took the fall for Johnny Sorrento. Dominic was dealing bad drugs to Johnny's kids, so Johnny killed him.
I have no further questions.
Mr. Mason.
No questions at this time, Your Honor, but I will recall this witness.
Granted. Witness may step down.
You knew that was coming, didn't you?
Yes. Didn't you?
Mr. Mason?
Defense calls Frank Halloran to the stand. Mr. Halloran, tell us your occupation and your relationship to the defendant, John Sorrento.
Yes, I'm an attorney, but for the past 10 years, my practice has been exclusively limited to managing the business affairs of Mr. Sorrento.
Including payment of outstanding accounts?
Yes.
During the past 10 years, did John Sorrento or any business connected to Mr. Sorrento pay any monies to Dave Barrett?
Not that I know of. And I would know.
Yes, you would. Thank you, Mr. Halloran. No further questions, but I reserve the right to recall the witness.
Mr. Stewart,
No questions, Your Honor.
you may step down, sir.
I recall Paula Barrett. Mrs. Barrett, under oath, you told us you couldn't identify the voice of the man who phoned your husband. Is that still true?
No,
Then who was it?
the man who just testified.
Frank Halloran?
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Barrett.
Mr. Stewart?
I have no questions for this witness.
Witness may step down.
Defense recalls Karen Thatcher to the stand. We ask that she be declared a hostile witness.
Mr. Stewart?
No objections.
Granted.
Miss Thatcher, you testified you went upstairs with Johnny Sorrento to make Nick Angel jealous. Is that correct?
That's right.
But how could you make him jealous if he'd already left the party?
I don't know. I guess I didn't realize he'd already gone.
But you approached Mr. Sorrento immediately after his altercation with Nick Angel, and you did see Mr. Angel leave.
I don't remember.
You don't remember. Your roommate, Miss Kirkwood, testified that you hated Nick Angel. Now, it really wasn't Mr. Angel who... who invited you to that party, was it? Miss Thatcher, we are talking about the murder of Maria Sorrento. Isn't it time you started telling the truth?
You're right. It wasn't Nick.
If it wasn't Nick, then who was it?
Just a man I met when I was working for Nick. He said he wanted me to go to a party and make a play for Johnny Sorrento. He said all I had to do was to get Johnny to take me upstairs and he'd give me $1,000 and a part in one of Johnny's movies. Just a man.
Just a man. What man?
Frank Halloran. And when I told him that I'd been subpoenaed, he gave me that Nick story. And he told me it had been cleared with Nick, too.
We recall Frank Halloran. Your job with the defendant pays you a substantial salary, enough that you need no other clients.
It's very demanding work.
But you could ill afford something like Mr. Sorrento being convicted of murder.
I won't deny that, Counselor. But that's not what I had in mind when I retained you to defend Mr. Sorrento.
Oh, I'm not talking about this case. I'm referring to the murder of Ray Dominic.
I don't know what you mean.
Isn't it true that when Johnny Sorrento was arrested for the murder of Ray Dominic, you arranged an alibi for him?
My actions, Counselor, on behalf of my client, Mr. Sorrento, were totally proper.
Didn't you promise Nick Angel special financing if he would swear that when Dominic was killed, Johnny and his wife were dining at a restaurant managed by Nick Angel?
No, I did not.
Didn't you also make a deal with Dave Barrett to confess to the murder?
Absolutely not.
Mr. Halloran, I have photocopies of 36 checks. 36 checks for $5,000 each. Signed by you and endorsed by Dave Barrett. Checks he received every month while he was in prison.
I'd say that somebody must have been forging my signatures.
A month ago, you learned from Maria Sorrento's attorney that Maria finally intended to divorce Johnny and was threatening to reveal something incriminating about him. Isn't that correct?
I suppose so. What of it?
Well, your next move was to have all the phones in the Sorrento household tapped. You had to know all that was going on, and you did. You felt Maria was going to implicate Johnny in the Dominic murder. If that happened, you would be implicated. You'd face criminal charges. Your career would be destroyed.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
You knew of Maria's obsessive jealousy, so you hired Karen Thatcher to make a play for Johnny. You made sure Maria saw the two of them going upstairs together. You were sitting with her, weren't you? You made sure she followed them. You waited till she stormed back and out of the house, and then, Mr. Halloran, you had to get to a telephone.
Get to a telephone? To do what?
You called Dave Barrett in his car to tell him Maria was on her way. Dave was already at his vantage point. He then shot Maria's car out from under her.
Your Honor, this is all an obscene lie.
Dave Barrett left Johnny's rifle where it could be easily found. He planted one of Johnny's cigarillos there. Now, Frank, now you were in bad trouble. You had to clear Johnny without implicating yourself.
You can't prove any of this.
Karen Thatcher's testimony, checks made out to Dave Barrett, Paula's testimony that she recognized your voice. There's more, Frank.
There's what, more lies?
The Calder house phone records show a call placed to Dave's car phone 10 minutes before Maria was killed. We have your home and office records. Then we have this. And that bullet came from the gun that killed Dave Barrett. It is the bullet that went through me. Now, Frank, you were the only other person who knew we'd be at Johnny's house. We've been friends for almost 30 years, Frank. Why did you try to kill me?
Because you're getting too close. All this time I've known you, I never thought you were a great lawyer, just a lucky one. You were getting too close. All I wanted you to do was to get Johnny off. I didn't want Maria to die, but I couldn't let her go through with the divorce, could I? I didn't want to kill Dave Barrett. I didn't want you to die. But I couldn't let you get too far. You learned too much. I was never lucky. You were always just lucky.
I'm sorry, Frank.
Your Honor, I move that all charges against the defendant be dismissed.
Motion granted. The bond is discharged, and the defendant is free to go. But I order the arrest of Frank Halloran for first-degree murder, and the arrest of Nick Angel and Miss Thatcher on charges of perjury. And I request that the District Attorney's Office further investigate the murder of Ray Dominic. This court is adjourned.
Mr. Mason, thank you for everything and nothing.
My office will not charge you for either.
This Dominic business. You want to handle it for me?
Jeff? Jeff, do you trust him now?
I want to trust him. No, I don't trust him. I can't.
That's how it is, Johnny. We can't trust you. You will stay in touch with us.
Go.
Just that it's just what I had to do to Frank. Just
I know.
yes.